The next Puka Nacua is probably not going to be in this year's draft. You're probably not going to find that wide receiver in the later rounds, but there's still some upside at wide receiver and some good prospects that you can look at in the later rounds of the draft that can still help your fantasy team. And in the double-digit rounds, you need to be going after lottery tickets. You need to be going after boom-bust players, so when they do bust, you can go after the waiver wire. You do not want roster cloggers, because they're going to prevent you from going after the waiver wire and making those decisions to go after those players, especially in the beginning of the season, who start showing signs of going off, and you can just go out and grab them as they start making moves. A guy with a lot of upside who needs some things to break in a situation is Jalen McMillan. He's looking good in training camp. He's getting a lot of targets. He was looking good in preseason. There's a lot of buzz around him. He's getting drafted a lot right now in the double-digit rounds, and we're going to do a deep dive on him today. We're going to look at the news, the facts, the data, the advanced metrics to see whether or not you need to draft him for fantasy football. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day. We're doing them every day. In season, it's the guys rising up the waiver wire, the guys rising up the depth chart. On top of that, we're covering the waiver wire every day. Even after the waiver wires ran, we're the only site that does that here on YouTube. And then on top of that, we're helping you set your lineups. We're looking at the matchups. Click that button. Stop missing out. But he was a heavily recruited prospect coming out of high school. 25 offers. Alabama after him. He went to Washington. The wide receiver 6 in the rankings per 24/7 Sports. And he was comped to Keenan Allen. What does that mean? He's technical, good route runner. They said quick release, good body control, difficult to jam, so good off the line of scrimmage. We saw that on the tape coming out of college. We're seeing this now with Tampa Bay. He is looking good, and at Washington, we broke out in 2022. We had some injuries mixed into his career, but over 1,000 yards, 79 balls caught, 9 touchdowns. We also played with a lot of talent. There was a lot of competition there. But in 2022, 13.1 average depth of target. He can stretch it downfield. He can get downfield. He has great awareness, good route running, good package off the line. Very good wide receiver. Good hands, very sticky. Can get a good yards per route ran. 2.32 in 2022 when he was getting his most work, but 2.3 also in 2023. And looking at his production among the other wide receivers per a market share rate, so you're looking at the ownership of yards versus the passing yards in the offense. Another way to look at it, to even out the yardage totals, considering some teams just throw the ball a million times versus other teams run it a ton, and you get a lot of variance in college football here. Broke out at age 20. A good breakout age. A good breakout age. You really prefer 18 to 19, but 20 is okay. It's good. A lot of wide receivers break out at age 20. It's just when it usually happens. Usually the red flag is like 22, 21 years old, 23, 24. Because think about it. You're an older wide receiver, and you're beating up on 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids. That's what you're really doing, and the odds decrease immensely. There will be players that hit with those numbers. There will be. But there will be a lot more busts as well, and this usually serves as a prerequisite. It's not written in stone because not all these wide receivers are going to hit at the NFL level that are breaking out age 20, 19, and 18, but it's a prerequisite. Most of the wide receivers hitting at the NFL level, like 90, 95% of them, broke out in college age 18, 19, and 20. 20 is kind of the stopgap there. Jalen McMillan hit that threshold. That's good enough. That's good to go. And on top of that, we hit well on the workout metrics. 6'1", 197, good size, decent draft capital. Drafted in the 3rd round. Usually it'd be a little bit of an eyesore, but we had about 20 wide receivers graded as day 2 prospects or better in this year's class. Is the deepest wide receiver class of all time. We're going to see a lot of rookie wide receivers do some good things, and we're going to see rookie wide receivers do good things at the NFL level quicker than what we've seen in years past because the talent pool is only getting bigger. We're seeing that in the high school game. We're seeing that in the college game. Wide receivers are just more developed as they're moving up the ranks. We look at this offense. You see Mike Evans. You see Chris Godwin. You see Jalen McMillan. They're going to run out 3 wide receiver sets a lot. There have been stated that Chris Godwin's going to run out of the slot a lot more. I'm guessing around 70-75% of the time, which means there's going to be another wide receiver on the field most of the time. And it's probably going to be Jalen McMillan from what we're seeing on the field. He's very crispy running routes. He's getting targeted. Baker Mayfield likes him. Baker Mayfield's looking his way. Mike Evans is going to do Mike Evans things. He's going to get his targets. He's going to be targeted deep downfield. Chris Godwin's going to get his looks. So there's not going to be that many targets to go around, but there will be moments where Jalen McMillan will have his day in the sun. And with him being on the back end of your roster as a lottery ticket, if something happens to one of these two wide receivers, he'll get his opportunity. On top of that, they'll be in some shootouts. There'll be some moments where the matchups will align well for him and good wide receivers. If it's meant to be and that wide receiver is good enough, it does not matter if the competition's there. They will find a way to be productive. And maybe you want to look at him more for daily fantasy football in the right matchups. If you got him in Dynasty, you may want to diamond fist him or look to sell him if you're not really into him once the price goes up. But the price is probably going to go up on him. He's probably going to get more opportunity later this year. And it might be middle of the season when we start looking at him. We're going to look at the route participation rate. We're going to look at the targets. We're going to look at the routes ran. Jalen McMillan's going to get workload this year. You look at it last year, 50% of the targets almost went to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. 13% to the running back Rachaad White. That being said, there's still opportunity for him to get a good workload here. Maybe around 15 to 18% target share, somewhere like that. That could allow him to be productive. That could allow him to catch 60, 70 balls in this offense. That could allow him to do something. That might allow him to be a little bit spiky. That could also be a wide receiver you're plucking off the waiver wire to patch up some holes. Something happens to Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, he's going to be on the field doing some things. Trey Palmer's good. He's got a lot of deep speed. He's fun to watch. He could be electric if something happens to the wide receivers as well. But Jalen McMillan's been killing it in camp. Jalen McMillan's been stealing the lunch at training camp. He's going to be on the field. He's going to be getting workload. Will it be enough to be fantasy relevant? I believe it's going to be enough for him to hold value, for him to be a guy to speculate, to hold a lottery ticket on, to pay attention to, and he'll probably give you some spike weeks. He'll probably be on the field enough to earn enough targets for you to look at him every week. He's going to hold some value. But as a lottery ticket, there's upside here too. Because if something happens to one of those starting wide receivers, he's good enough to explode. He's good enough to step in and do it. He's been showing up in preseason and training camp. And drafters are saying the same thing. He keeps rising throughout training camp. He kept rising throughout the offseason as he kept showing the goods. The market's saying, hey, look at Jalen McMillan. The market's saying that. You watch this graph, it's not just ADP, it's also saying what a lot of people are saying. And off of fantasy football analysts, guys like me, guys on Twitter, the market really tells you the better story. Because they're saying, hey, we all believe in this. We're not even talking with each other, and we're all putting our money on the line. And I just want to go over the data with you. The market's saying, hey, watch Jalen McMillan. That's what this chart says. You don't need him. You don't need a lottery ticket at wide receiver. In the double-digit rounds, you really should be heavily focused at running back. But you love the talent. You're going to do it anyway. That's why you need him. That's why you want him. And I can understand that because I like the talent as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.